What's going on, guys? I want to welcome you to part 2 on how to build bigger traps. So in the first edition, I talked about heavy explosive lifting and how the traps are like one of the strongest muscle groups in the entire body. Therefore, slow and control is not going to do jack shit. And of course, I had some people in the comment section expressing their point of view on why I was wrong. So let me debunk any possible argument that one could make against what I said, alright? So here's the deal. The first argument is the fact that with power shrugs, you can't squeeze the muscle optimally. In other words, the contraction, the concentric, is not as good. So the argument is as follows. When you're doing a barbell shrug, slow and controlled, you could actually squeeze the muscle. And it's this squeezing aspect that will develop the traps. Just like squeezing on a cable fly is going to build the chest. And to some people, this may appear sound. But to anyone who has experience or anyone who knows my channel, this is where guys screw up. The squeeze is the least important part of a shrug. That's right, you heard it from here. The squeeze is the least important part. The number one thing is actually the stretch. So that's why I laugh so much when guys, they talk about the benefits of the squeeze. Sorry bro, this ain't a pec deck, this is a shrug. Here's the facts. Your traps are going to grow through heavy weighted stretching. People like to argue of the function, which is to elevate, right? Well, do you know that the traps actually stabilize? They prevent your shoulders and your arms from ripping out. That's what they do. So when you have these heavy ass weights, it's pulling down on your traps. It's actually going to make it bigger. And if you think I'm wrong, well, let me lay out my golden argument that not one person has ever debunked. Not one person on YouTube Fitness has managed to debate me against this point, because they can't. If the concentric is so important, how come deadlifts and farmer walks build the traps? Last I checked, there's no shrug, there's no freaking shrug, there's only stretch. And if you think, again, if you say I'm wrong, you're stating that deadlifts and farmer walks don't build traps. So by that definition, you can immediately see that cheat shrugs are the way to go, because the concentric is the least important part of the shrug. The stretch is the most important thing. And in fact, when you do a cheating style, the stretch is going to be even more pronounced than if you did it slow. Do the test. Use a bit of leg drive, shrug like this, and it's actually going to pull you down like that. That yanking action is going to build your traps like crazy. And this is why snatch grip high pulls are so effective. This is why power cleans are so effective. This is why Olympic weightlifting movements are so effective. It's this catching action with the heavy stretch from the shrug that makes them grow like crazy. So people have it all wrong. They like to argue that it's the concentric and that you have to squeeze, but it's the total opposite. This should also be a good reason why you should be doing rack pulls above the knee, because rack pulls above the knee is going to allow you to get that stretch more than any other exercise in existence. So that's the first argument. The second one is going to be, guys are going to say, well, you forgot to mention the other function of the traps, which is actually to bring yourself like this, right? So you have to shrug not only up, but back, up and back. Okay, this is like saying you got to do dumbbell flies to get a massive chest. Are dumbbell flies a good exercise? Yes. Should you add them in your training? Maybe, if you have a lagging chest. But does that mean that you're not going to build big traps if you don't do flying exercises? Like, would you disagree with the fact that if you could pause bench 315 for 5, you're going to have a pretty big chest? Well, okay, the same thing will apply to the shrug. You don't have to train all the functions. People have to stop with this bodybuilder shit where like they think of their physique like Legos. I gotta do this function, followed by this function, this function, this function. No, you don't have to do that. Here's the thing. If you stretch, alright, you're getting all the benefits you need. If you do this, you're getting all the benefits you need. And one thing that completely blows this argument out of the water is the fact that rack pulls above the knee, there is no scapular retraction. There isn't, because you can't. The weight is so heavy that it's naturally going to pull your traps forward. It's not going to round them, but you're not going to be retracted. You can't retract on a rack pull above the knee, yet we know that this is a crazy mass building exercise. What about heavy farmer walks? When the weight gets really, really heavy, even seen strongman competitions, they start rounding forward a bit. They're not fully retracted. You can't have full scapular retraction and still lift heavy weights. So this argument is bullshit. If you want to train that, I mean, be my guest, do it as accessory work, take those dumbbells and squeeze behind like that. But you don't have to do it. It's not a mandatory feature. As long as you're doing a power shrug like this, right, with sufficient volume, and you're doing the rack pulls above the knee, farmer walks, all that good stuff, you're getting everything you need. So and also think about this. When you do rows, aren't you doing this? You bring yourself back. So there's going to be some crossover. The point is, if you have higher size selection and you're trained the proper way, you don't have to train that function as much as you think. It's like saying there's this weird exercise where you take a cable and you got to press it down with your traps like this. You don't got to do that exercise just because it's one function of the trap. You don't have to do it. Just do farmer walks. It gives you the same thing. So that's the second argument. The third one is the fact that people say you can't get sufficient volume and that there's more time retention if you use like a lighter weight and you really squeeze. So you squeeze it for 3 seconds, bring it back down. 3 seconds, bring it back down. Here's why this makes no sense. Sure, there might be more time retention, but at what cost? The cost is you're lifting bitch weight, and the fact of the matter is that your traps have insane strength potential. I already said I could do rack pull 1,105 pounds, and if I grab like 315 pounds, that's actually less than 30% of one of my max in terms of stretch. So sure, I mean, I'm getting time retention, but with a light weight. That's like saying do time retention curls. Grab a 5-pound dumbbell, do 3 seconds on the way up, 3 seconds on the way down. You honestly think that's gonna make your muscles bigger? Especially when we talk about the traps, which is one of the strongest muscle groups in the entire human body. Let's get real. If it doesn't even work on curls, and curls aren't even a strong muscle group, why would it work on the traps, which are the strongest area? It doesn't make any sense. This time retention thing, it needs to stop, because first of all, you can get time retention with shrugs. Just because you're doing a power shrug doesn't mean you gotta do singles, doesn't mean you gotta do triples. You can do high volume. You can easily do rack pulls above the knee with 5 seconds hold at the top. You can do that. So instead of squeezing at the top here for 3 seconds, you're actually stretching at the bottom for the same amount of time. You ever think about that? And guess what? Like I said before, the stretch is the most important part. So you can actually use heavier weight and get the same time retention, if not more, without really losing any benefits. So what is this argument that you can squeeze, which extends the set's time? Okay, you're doing that, but you're reducing your workload tremendously, and you're not really working with a heavy enough weight to stimulate traps growth. I can do the same thing, but I time the eccentric. I time here. I'm stretching the bottom, which is really what's going to help it grow. And I could use like 5 times the weight. So you see my point? This is why when we talk about traps, it's a topic very dear to my heart. I used to have very small traps. They were the smallest traps in YouTube fitness community, and I found a way to bring them up. And I'm giving this information to you for free. Some people are going to say, oh, you're a con artist, you're this or that. How the fuck could I be a con artist if I'm giving you this information for free? For free. I've made like over 20 videos on this topic. What con man does that? Like, what? You serious, bro? That makes no fucking sense. People have gotten results following my Natural Enhanced program, of course, but I've also had a lot of people get results not following the system, doing just my advice in general from YouTube, and that's fine. I'm just trying to give you the truth because I'm so fed up of hearing this bull crap that doesn't work for junk-free lifters. You have to use heavy freaking weight, fast explosive reps, and emphasize heavy weighted stretching. The stretch is the most important part of building bigger traps. It is. It is not the concentric. It really isn't. It's not retracting your scapula. It's none of that stuff. It's heavy stretch. If you did nothing but rack pulls above the knee, your traps would get bigger. This should debunk the idea that you even have to squeeze your traps in the first place. It should debunk the idea that you got to have all this time retention. Of course, you could do it like I told you how to do before with the 5 seconds hold, but the reality is if you stretch with heavy weight, your traps get big, and that's just the truth, man. So again, I'm not trying to sell you this idea. I gave you this idea for free. So I'm telling you, do it. I want to help you. I want to help you for free. All right, so that's it, man. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is going to be my last discussion on the traps for a while. And with that, I'll talk to you guys next time.